Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Just a couple of hours ago, we wrapped up day one of the second week of the LEC. And one of the bigger storylines that I was following so far is just kind of how good is Fnatic really going to be? Are they going to be the Fnatic we saw in the first two games where they're kind of running down and inting, or are they going to be the Fnatic we saw in the final game of the Super Week last week where they really bounced back and looked like an extremely solid team and really started to prove some people wrong. They were maybe hating on them after the first two games. Obviously, today we saw them go up against Vitality, where they were able to get back to 500, to get back to 2-2, and in this game they did look really great. Yes, there was some questionable plays, like some weird TPs from NISQY, some random ints from Bwipo and Hylissang still, but you know, it wouldn't be a Fnatic game without some of that stuff. But again, they were able to bounce back. They were able to be pretty good. I don't want to overreact too much because it was just a game against Vitality, which honestly, in my opinion, might be the second worst team in the LCS, or in the LEC so far to start the season. But in this video today, we're going to be breaking all that down, and then also going over the interview from the post-game lobby of NISQY, because I think he did give a very good interview. But before we get into that, I just want to mention real quick, if you're not already subscribed, definitely click that subscribe button really quick. It's fast, it's free, it's easy, helps you guys stay up to date on all my latest content, and I would appreciate it a ton. We're getting closer and closer to 6,300 subscribers. You guys have been doing insane lately, just running up the numbers. It has been so fun to just watch and keep making the content for everybody, because this is obviously something that I love to do. Also, drop a like on this video if you do enjoy it, because that helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm, and I would appreciate it so much. With that being said, here we go. Let's check out kind of the post-game stats from this one. So like I said, you know, Fnatic had a really good game here. The main kind of standout in the player of the game in the voting and everything was Selfmade. 7, 2, and 10 on this Olaf. I think he got a Gore Drinker finish up at 10 minutes. Something insane like that. Upset made Kai'Sa look like an absolute assassin. 9-0 and 7. He has looked so good, in my opinion, for Fnatic to start the season. NISQY with a 2-3-12 game on Orianna. I mean, he didn't really have to do much, as he said. But, you know, it was still nice that, you know, he's super reliable, and obviously Orianna was able to, you know, shield up all the huge carries, and it was super good. Hylissang had an awesome rel game. He did have one int pretty deep in the jungle over some wards and stuff, and then Bwipo 4, 1, and 10 really looked good on the Renekton in this one. On the side of Vitality, you know, the 0-10 from Labrov, the 2-4-2 from Xayah. I have not been too impressed with Comp and Labrov to start the season. Everyone told me during the offseason that I was wrong about these guys, that they were going to pop off this season, and we're really not seeing it yet. I mean, there honestly was not too many bright spots for Vitality. They won like a fight here and there. They kept it kind of close for a little bit, but in the end, this was just an absolute stomp from Fnatic, as it really should be. I mean, when you look at these two teams on paper, Fnatic is clearly the more talented team. Yes, there have been some questions of, you know, are Bwipo and Hylissang going to run it down? How well are NISQY and Upset going to fit in with their new team and all that? But when this team does put it all together, they're absolutely capable of smashing teams like Vitality, and that's what they did today, and this was very good and very nice to see. So, again, we get to kind of this post-game interview with NISQY, where I think he does give a really good interview. You know, he's a funny dude, a charismatic guy, you know, really positive, upbeat, but also is not afraid to give some banger quotes. So I want to go over a few of the quotes in this interview and kind of give my thoughts and opinions on some of the stuff, because I think he said some good stuff. He said some spicy stuff. And, yeah, some of it is probably pretty good news for Fnatic fans, or really fans of the LEC in general, because, again, we want to see Fnatic doing well. We want to see all the teams playing to the highest of their potential, because when teams are good, when teams are playing well, it brings up the whole region. Better scrims, better games, better experience, better practice, and all that good stuff. So let's see what NISQY had to say.
As well, so I think that's the big difference, yeah.
And I think, talking about big difference, how are you finding the EU solo queue compared to NA solo queue? Is it a lot different from what you remember? Is it much better than the NA solo queue? How are you finding
Such a bait question.
I mean, for me, I like it way more just because I think the people that play in it are just better individuals. So it makes the practice easier. For example, if I need to practice a matchup and I pick it in solo queue, in NA, usually it's either a one-trick playing it or out-of-field support. But in EU, it's like either a national mid that plays it, or an LEC mid, you know, because
I thought that was so funny. Obviously, you know, they're trying to get like a spicy quote, like a EU versus NA thing going on, asking him about the solo queue, and his answer was just so good. They're saying if you play it in NA, it's either a one trick or a auto-filled support, which was so funny. But obviously, yes, people do say, you know, that European solo queue is better. The players are better over there. They have a bigger player base, and yeah, with all the different regional leagues and LEC and all the different talent over there, you are getting getting to play against higher level competition more often where people are kind of taking it more seriously. And yeah, just overall better practice environment. It seems like NISQY is enjoying that. And we'll see, you know, how European solo queue is able to help him evolve and level up over the course of the season. If he's able to, you know, become way better than he ever was in North America, or if the solo queue doesn't really matter that much and, you know, it's just kind of feels better to play, which I'm sure it definitely does. Then they asked him about kind of the differences between, I believe this is the part where they ask him the differences between playing on Fnatic and playing with Cloud9 last season, because I think a lot of people draw a lot of parallels between Cloud9 and Fnatic when they see how he matches up with like NISQY, how NISQY matches up with like Blabber and Selfmade. People see them as kind of similar style players and everything, and NISQY had some stuff to say about that as well.
Sacrifices himself for the good of the team, and that's kind of how you have slotted in so far. How would you say the way you play and the way you function in this team environment is different from the role that you fulfilled on C9 as a mid laner?
I feel like when I was in C9, it was mostly I just get mid push and I make sure that my teammates don't die if there's like a random fight going on. But I feel like in Fnatic is way more controlled and people actually know and like they know how I want to play the game and what I'm doing into the game, compared to where in C9 it was mostly just fighting and we're just winning these fights because, you know, I would give some CS and just move there, you know.
I mean, like I said, he's definitely saying some good things about Fnatic and saying, you know, that they kind of know how to play around him a little bit better. Maybe they even know how to play the game better. Maybe he's even throwing a little subtle shade at Cloud9, or maybe just the NA playstyle as a whole, because obviously Cloud9 was very successful with what they were able to do. But just saying, you know, that maybe NA is playing like almost like a dumbed down version of the game a little bit, which again, not too many of us would argue with, but I don't know, just kind of interesting there. He just seems to be saying a lot of things that, you know, he thinks Fnatic is going to be significantly better, and he was able to be on Cloud9, which is interesting because obviously Cloud9 had an amazing spring split. They went on to win a title. People were saying they were potentially one of the best teams in the world at that time, maybe the most dominant North American team ever. Again, we never got to see them go to MSI, so we're not really sure how they would have matched up against other teams. I have my doubts about just how good that Cloud9 team was. I think a lot of people have come out and said that maybe North America as a whole was just really, really terrible then. As we saw them start to ramp up in the summer split, we saw teams start to catch up to Cloud9 a little bit. But I did just think that portion was very, very interesting.
But I feel like, yeah, in Fnatic is just way more controlled, and also my teammates kind of trust me as well. So if I tell them, listen, I don't want to fight for like 10 minutes, then no one will fight for 10 minutes. But I feel like in C9 it was more like I had to adapt more to the team compared to Fnatic, where I can just play my own game and they kind of follow me through it, yeah.
And how do you...
So yeah, I just think that's really, really interesting. Again, the more that he's just telling us the differences between Fnatic and Cloud9, because again, I think a lot of people, or most people would say that Fnatic is better. You know, Cloud9 didn't even make it to Worlds last year. Fnatic almost made it to the semifinals, and they're bringing a lot of the same team back from last season. And just acknowledging the differences between North American solo queue, European solo queue, the LEC and the LCS, and Cloud9 and Fnatic, and all these different just differences that he is noticing between the two things. I just think it's really, really interesting when people, you know, at the highest level, on the highest level teams in the best positions, are able to give us some of this insight into just exactly what they think, you know, it feels like on stage and behind the scenes and all that stuff. And I think that was really, really interesting. I have another clip 7 minutes in that I wanted to talk about.
I don't think it is in terms of kind of.
This is where he talks about the difference between Blabber and Selfmade. I thought this was funny.
Around your lane, or how much he calls, or how aggressive he is himself, so you have to cover. What's the main differences?
I think Selfmade plays actually more selfish than Blabber, which was really surprising to me. I thought Blabber was like the most selfish player in the universe, but I guess Selfmade is up there as well. But also I think the difference with Selfmade is that we share opinions a lot on what we think is good for mid jungle and how we want to play stuff together. And I think that's something that I kind of lacked with Blabber. And yeah, for now we're just still figuring out, for example, what's best for...
So again, just another thing that I think super interesting. I don't think he's really, you know, trying to flame Cloud9 or throw some shade there, but, you know, maybe there was like some butting of the heads between him and Blabber, where, you know, he's saying that they didn't necessarily agree on everything. They didn't necessarily agree on the playstyle. And yeah, he thought that Blabber was super selfish, but now he realized that Selfmade is really selfish too. Like I said, there is definitely some parallels between the playstyle of Blabber and the playstyle of Selfmade, which maybe helps out NISQY making this transition, you know, not having to like totally change up his play style or his interactions with the jungler or everything. But it sounds like NISQY is already starting to agree more and more with Selfmade on how the game is supposed to be played. Sounds like mid-jungle matchups, maybe team compositions, maybe macro decisions, when to fight, all that stuff. It sounds like the team kind of respects NISQY a little bit more, and NISQY respects his team a little bit more. So maybe there was, some behind-the-scenes stuff going on between Cloud9. Obviously, we saw them have such an epic collapse. One of the most epic collapses of all time, really, in League of Legends history. I wouldn't be shocked if there was some stuff going on behind the scenes that maybe we never heard about, or maybe we even did hear about. I don't really remember any of that, but it's always hard to tell exactly what's going on with some of these teams, some of these players. NISQY goes on to talk about how he still talks to Sven and Vulcan sometimes, and he doesn't watch Cloud9 games, he doesn't keep up with the team anymore, but he talks to some of the guys. But yeah, he doesn't really say that he talks to Blabber anymore. So maybe there was some issues going on between these guys. But either way, it seems like NISQY is very, very excited to be on Cloud9, or to be on Fnatic now. It seems like he's really loving his new team, really loving his new teammates, and just feeling like overall in a better place, being in Europe, being in the LEC, being on Fnatic. And I think that's awesome for him, because when people are happy, excited, motivated, feeling good, feeling confident, feeling respected, it can obviously help take your play to the next level. And I think we have a real opportunity to see Fnatic and NISQY do that this season. NISQY has had a very, very hot start to the season so far. Again, a couple weird plays here and there. He hasn't been totally clean. I think he has definitely a ton of room for improvement, which is really, really scary for the rest of the LEC and really exciting for Fnatic fans. But as a team, Fnatic is very, very talented. They kind of proved it today. But again, I don't want to go too far because it was against Vitality, who I think has just looked absolutely terrible to start the season. But it is good to see Fnatic, doing the things they're supposed to do against these lower level teams. And just some really, really interesting insights into Fnatic stuff. If you're a Cloud9 fan, maybe this stuff's a little bit concerning to hear. But if you're a Fnatic fan, a lot of this stuff has to be really, really exciting here. The last thing I wanted to talk about from this interview, which is something that I had not seen before, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Talking about Upset and his setup. I don't know how I missed this, but man, I was literally laughing out loud watching this stuff.
Everyone, but I do want to ask you about something.
This doesn't really have anything to do with the game. This is just funny.
It's the curious case of Upset's mouse mat and like his screen and the situation. So, you must look over and be like, what the hell? So what's going on here, NISQY?
So he got, I don't know if you can see it over here, but everybody else has one table where it's their mouse pad or their keyboard and mouse pad, keyboard, monitor, standard setup. They had to bring in a second desk or table or whatever to put behind Upset's first table, because he likes to have his monitor that far away. And then he also likes to have this giant mouse pad, which also, I don't even really understand what that's doing, because he has a giant mouse pad, but it's not like he moved his keyboard and mouse forward. It's not like he's sprawling out, taking up a bunch of space. He literally has his mouse and keyboard in the normal spot, taking up like this much of his mouse pad. But yeah, super funny. NISQY was like, yeah, what the heck is going on? He thought the guy was trolling at first, but I guess this is how he actually plays. I don't know. Is there room to do this like when you're on stage in the LEC? I'm really not sure, but I just thought this was absolutely hilarious. And it just kind of shows where, NISQY is like saying behind the scenes, the team's getting along really, really well. They're all joking. They're all friends. And it's just kind of interesting because, when we talked about the Reckless interview yesterday, he was saying how maybe he thought there was some issues behind the scenes with Fnatic where they weren't all super great friends. They weren't always on the same page. And NISQY kind of seems to be telling the opposite story. Yes, NISQY's coming in. Yes, Upset's in there now too, so it is kind of a different team, a different environment, new coach. But man, a lot of this stuff is getting me really, really excited and really thinking the future is bright for Fnatic. Now, I hope they continue to play well. I hope they continue to be strong, and I hope they continue to pick up some big wins, hopefully against, higher level and more quality teams in Vitality. But so far into week 2, so good for Fnatic. Things are looking up. I'm excited about this team, and I'm sure a lot of other people are as well. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about anything we talked in this video? Do you think Fnatic is looking good? Do you think you need to see him prove it against a little bit better of a team? Do you think NISQY is just hilarious with the spicy quotes and everything? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on anything we talked about in today's video. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!